Good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you're located at. My name is Jay Anstine, and I'm a compliance officer with a physician group located in Colorado. And I'm going to talk to you today about drafting memorandums to analyze any regulatory issue that may come up. It seems like, certainly with the daily work of compliance officers, you're constantly being put in a position to have to provide an opinion, whether it's to physicians or senior management or other employees, relating to whether or not the business can move forward with maybe a particular business proposal, or you may have found out that there's something going on that you need to correct, and you're being asked to provide an opinion about that. And so what we're going to talk through today is basically just to give you kind of a blueprint of how you can structure your response. And with that, you could use this really, or I should say I use it really, whether it's going to be a formal memorandum that's going to go to maybe a board of directors or a committee within the organization, or just an informal email discussion amongst coworkers, just talking about a particular issue. So it is adaptable, depending on your particular forum or format. Just a little bit of background on me. So I've been in healthcare for about 20 years. I've worked on the provider side and I've worked on the managed care side. I've worked for large health systems, a couple 100,000 employees, and I've worked for very small healthcare organizations that have consisted of about 20 employees. So in that time have definitely dealt with, I would probably say, countless regulatory issues that have come up over the years. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of share this insight with you, just some things that I picked up, like I said, to kind of give help give a consistent blueprint for your written responses. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So just a little bit of an overview of kind of where we're going to go. First, we're going to talk through the planning stages, or sort of the pre-writing stages. This is going to be gathering facts and conducting research. Then we're going to pause for a second, and we're going to talk through a case study that will really kind of help set up the rest of the webinar. So we're going to use just a real-life example, and then we're going to talk through how we would go about gathering facts, conducting research, and then also apply it to the framework of the written opinion, which is that third bullet point down there. I put an acronym in there of BIRAC, B-I-R-A-C.
Oh, thank you. It's what. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And basically it stands for background, issue, rule, analysis, conclusion. And we'll go through each of those. And then at the end, we'll talk through some tips for written memorandums, again, whether it's an informal email or a more formal memo. And then certainly we'll leave some time at the end to answer any questions that you might have. So before we begin, one of the things I like to think about, as you're working on written memorandums, especially if it's a situation where maybe somebody within the organization, or maybe it's somebody in senior management, has come to you and they've got a particular business proposal that they're wanting to move forward, and they're needing your advice on how to move forward in a way that's going to be business friendly but also is going to be compliant. So I like to think about just sort of putting yourself in a mindset of being a consultant. The first thing relative to compliance role is that, just keep in mind that you do need issues to be employed. I always like to think about the fact that with, working in healthcare, we have hospitals or physician groups or other folks that are clinical folks, providing care. They rely on the sick and the injured in order to stay in business. And that's kind of the same way with compliance. You need issues and questions and problems to solve in order to be employed. So that's something I think for me has kind of helped keep me grounded. Sometimes you work on very complex issues, sometimes they can be frustrating, and so I think that is just kind of good to keep in the back of your mind as you're working on issues. The next one is that solutions are going to require conflict resolution skills. The main point here is just empathy and knowledge to all sides to the issue. We're going to talk about this a little bit later once we get into the actual case study, but as you're gathering information, you just want to make sure that you're really understanding the question that's being asked, and that you've looked at it from multiple sides. And then the last one is just challenge yourself to think outside the box. Obviously, that's probably a no-brainer, but what I mean by this more specifically related to the compliance role is, just make sure if you're providing a written memorandum that's addressing a particular issue that you're not just stopping with what the problem is, but you're also taking it a step further to provide what the potential solution is going to be. With a lot of the regulatory issues, it's a very gray world, and there's certainly ways that you can provide a proposal that's going to be both business friendly and is going to be compliant. And I'll talk about that again a little bit later once we get into the actual case study, so you can see an example of what I'm talking about there.